My name is Lyric York, 34, and right now I'm standing on the backyard lawn of our Scottsdale family home on Thanksgiving night. 70 relatives and business partners are crowded around the long tables when my younger brother Mercer jumps up on the wooden platform, glass-raised voice booming over the speakers. "Hey everyone, my sister Lyric. Still scrubbing toilets at the hospital, right?" Laughter explodes. Mom chimes in loud enough for the back row to hear her paycheck couldn't even buy the suit Mercer's wearing tonight. Dad nods, smirking. The entire yard roars. Phones come out. Someone yells, "Janitor Lyric, I just grip my red wine and stay quiet like I've done for the last 10 years. Then my phone vibrates hard against my thigh, emergency tone, blaring screen flashing crimson code silver. Vice President inbound. Ruptured cerebral aneurysm. ETA 18 minutes. Chief of neurosurgery required immediately. Mercer's grin freezes mid-laugh. 70 heads turn toward me at once. I set the glass down on the wooden table and walk across the damp grass. If you want to see how my little brother went from laughing to literally speechless in under 10 seconds, stay until the end, hit that like button, and let's get into it. The backyard had been packed since 6 string lights glowing against the desert night heaters pushing back the November chill. Mercer waited exactly 23 minutes after the first toast before he decided the night belonged to him. He hopped onto the low wooden platform by the fire pit, snatched the wireless mic from the DJ's table, and flashed that same triumphant grin he'd worn since middle school. "Everybody, quick question," he called out, voice booming across 70 guests. "My big sister Lyric still the hospital's #1 toilet cleaner, right?" Laughter rolled like a wave. Mom raised her glass with a theatrical smile. Dad gave the slow nod he saved for when he felt publicly vindicated. Mercer wasn't letting it die. He had just inked a $120 million resort development deal that morning, and the signed contract was burning a hole in his jacket pocket. He pulled out his phone, held the screen high so the wire confirmation lit up his face, then swung the spotlight straight back to me. "Come on, Lyric. Be honest. How much do they actually pay you to scrub floors and empty bedpans?" 16 an hour, 17 if you're lucky, Echo was already recording. She leaned across the table phone, inches from my face, eyes sparkling with mischief. The caption appeared instantly. "Thanksgiving with my janitor cousin, still cleaning toilets in 2025. She posted it. The table behind her erupted. Nova lifted her left hand, letting the firelight bounce off the 3-carat diamond Mercer had put there last month. "This little thing," she said loud and sweet, "probably cost more than Lyric clears in a whole year." Another roar. Someone started a slow clap that caught on fast. Phones rose in every direction, red recording dots blinking like Christmas lights. I stood there, red wine untouched in my hand, feeling the familiar heat crawl up my neck. 10 straight Thanksgivings of this. 10 years of biting my tongue because the truth never seemed worth the fight. Mercer circled again, arms slung around Dad now. "Remember when we offered her a real job? Actual office, actual paycheck, benefits. She turned it down flat. Guess some people just love pushing a mop for a living." Dad grunted approval. Mom sighed loud enough for 3 tables to hear the same disappointed sigh she'd perfected when I was 15. Across from me, Tate quietly slid the water pitcher my way and refilled my glass. 19 years old, the only one in this entire yard who never laughed at the joke. His eyes met mine for half a second, steady calm. "Sorry," then dropped back to his plate. The night dragged on. The jokes sharpened with every bottle that emptied. Echo refreshed her story twice more, each clip tighter on my face. Nova compared her designer purse to my janitor's salary. A couple of Mercer's investors asked if I got holiday pay for cleaning vomit on Thanksgiving. Someone offered to start a GoFundMe so I could finally buy a decent car. I just kept counting minutes on the glowing dial of my watch. 1 hour turned into 2. The sky went pitch black. The heaters roared louder and the laughter never let up. Then the fifth emergency alert cut through everything like a scalpel. My phone flashed blood red against the tablecloth. The fifth alert tore through the backyard like a gunshot. The screen glowed blood red in my hand, emergency tone impossible to ignore. I swiped accept and slammed speaker before anyone could move. Doctor. Harlan's voice exploded across the entire lawn, sharp and urgent, loud enough for every single person to hear. Dr. York, this is Harlan. The vice president just collapsed at the Phoenix Convention Center fundraiser, ruptured anterior communicating artery aneurysm with massive subarachnoid bleed. Blood pressure dropping fast. He's airborne now, ETA 18 minutes to our trauma bay. You are the only board-certified neurosurgeon in the state with active federal clearance tonight. We need you here yesterday. Dead silence. 70 forks froze midair. The DJ's playlist kept going for 2 more beats before someone finally killed it. I didn't waste a second. My voice came out ice cold, the tone I only use when someone's brain is drowning in its own blood. Or 1 locked down full neuro team scrubbed aneurysm tray. 2 extra coils on standby. 4 units. O negative on the rapid infuser BiPAP ready, and get federal medical security on the roof pad. I'm 17 minutes out. I ended the call. The first sound that came back was a wine glass slipping from someone's hand and shattering on the stone. Mercer found his voice first. It cracked like a 12-year-old's. Sis. No. That can't be real. I finally looked at him. 10 years of every smirk, every janitor joke, every time he laughed while they tore me down, it all flashed between us in one heartbeat. I set my glass down on the nearest table, slow and deliberate, and started walking. The crowd parted on instinct. Aunt Agnes reached out like she wanted to touch my arm and yanked her hand back. Mom stood up so fast her chair scraped backward. Lyric honey, what in the world? I kept moving. Dad tried next voice booming like he could still order me around. Lyric York. You stop right there and explain I didn't slow. Nova's mouth hung open, diamond ring forgotten on her finger. Echo's phone was still up, recording straight at me, thumb frozen over the post button. Tate was already on his feet. He didn't say a word, just met my eyes, and gave me the smallest, proudest nod I'd seen from anyone in years. I hit the stone path that led to the front gate. Mercer stumbled after me, panic rising. Lyric. This is a joke, right? Tell me that was some stupid prank I didn't answer. He lunged and grabbed my sleeve. Come on, you're not seriously. I pulled free without breaking stride. 2 Scottsdale PD cruisers were already waiting at the curb lights, flashing silent blue and red across the lawn. Behind them sat 2 black Federal Suburbans, doors open, agents in tactical gear waving me forward. Mercer kept shouting my name, voice getting smaller with every step I took. I slid into the back of the lead Suburban. The agent slammed the door the second my seatbelt clicked. The convoy rolled before Mercer even reached the driveway. He stood in the middle of the street screaming lyric as we disappeared around the corner. I didn't look back once. The agent in the passenger seat handed me nitrile gloves and a trauma tablet already loaded with the vice president's scans. I pulled the gloves on, cracked my neck, and stared at the glowing images of a brain filling with blood. 17 minutes to the hospital. I was going to make it in 15. We hit the freeway doing 105 the second the gate closed behind us. Sirens wailed, red and blue strobes painting the empty desert highway. The federal agent riding shotgun never took his eyes off the tablet, feeding me live numbers from the medevac chopper overhead. BP 76 over 32 and still dropping. GCS 5 now. They're bagging him and pushing another round of phenylephrine. I nodded once and kept scrolling the CT angio on the tablet. The aneurysm had ruptured wide open. Blood was everywhere. Basal cisterns, 4th ventricle, already herniating the brainstem. One wrong move and the vice president would be brain dead before the wheels touched the pad. 17 minutes turned into 14. The convoy flew through every intersection. I stripped out of my dress in the back seat, pulled on sterile scrubs the agent handed me, tied my hair under a disposable cap, snapped on booties. No time for anything else. We screamed into the ambulance bay at exactly 9:38 p.m. The Secret Service helicopter was still spooling down on the rooftop rotors, whipping cold air across the concrete. 2 lines of agents in tactical gear formed a corridor straight to the trauma elevator. I walked through without slowing. The trauma bay doors burst open. The vice president lay pale and intubated skin, the color of ash, left pupil blown. My entire neuro team was already scrubbed-gowned waiting. Clip or coil, my senior fellow asked the instant I crossed the line. Both, I said. We're not gambling tonight. We rolled him into OR1 at 9:42. Monitors screamed the second he hit the table. Blood pressure crashed to 38/15. Alarms everywhere. Induction now. Mannitol bolus. Hyperventilate to 28. Get the rapid infuser hot. First crisis hit at 9:49. Massive re-bleed. Pressure tanked again 38/15 for the second time. Heart rate shot to 170. We lost output completely. I jumped on the chest, myself compressions hard and fast while anesthesia bagged him, and someone slammed the crash cart open. Charged to 200. Clear pulse came back after the third shock. Color crept into his lips. Move. Craniotomy now. I took the scalpel, made the bicoronal incision, reflected the scalp in one motion. Drilled the burr holes, connected them with the craniotome, lifted the bone flap free. Blood exploded out the second the dura opened. I suctioned until I could see the glistening dome of the aneurysm pulsing like a heartbeat. Room went silent except for the monitors. I slid the microscope in, found the neck, dissected the A1 segment free, under 10 power magnification. My hands were rock steady. 10 years of being called a janitor vanished the moment I picked up the esargal clip applier. Temporary clip on the feeding artery. Flow stopped. The dome collapsed. I slid the permanent titanium clip across the base, closed it slow and perfect. No leak, no stenosis. Pressure climbed back to 90 systolic. Pulse steadied. But the brain was already swollen tight against the skull. ICP spiked to 42. Coils on the field. I threaded the microcatheter myself under live fluoro, navigated the tortuous internal carotid, parked it inside the sac, deployed coil after coil until the dome was packed solid. Final run showed 0 residual filling. I removed the temporary clip. Flow restored perfectly. I decompressed the dura, placed an ICP bolt, watched the pressure drop to 18. Replaced the bone flap titanium plates, closed in layers. Last staple at 3:11 a.m. 5 hours and 29 minutes from skin to skin. I stepped back. The anesthesia team started lightning sedation. His eyes fluttered open behind the tube. He focused on me, rasped around the plastic voice, raw but clear. Thank you, Dr. York. The entire room exhaled at once. Someone started clapping. Then the whole OR erupted. I peeled off my gloves, dropped them in the bin, and walked out into the freezing hallway on legs that suddenly felt like water. When I stepped out of the OR at 3 a.m, my phone already showed 139 missed calls. I silenced it, collapsed on the on-call cot, and passed out in my scrubs. 3 hours later, at 6 sharp, the screen woke me again, this time vibrating so hard it fell off the table. I reached for it, groggy, and saw the nightmare had already begun. Echo's TikTok story from Thanksgiving night was everywhere. The clip, Mercer yelling still, the hospital's #1 toilet cleaner, mom smirking, dad nodding, 70 people roaring with laughter, now had 61 million views and was being reposted by every major outlet on Earth. Someone had stitched it with slow-motion dramatic strings and a caption that read, "Hours later, she saved the vice president's life." Thanksgiving janitor was the #1 trending topic worldwide, locked in the top spot for 4 straight hours. CNN's breaking banner screamed vice president saved by neurosurgeon family, mocked as janitor at holiday dinner. Every morning, show led with it. Local Phoenix stations camped outside the hospital with live trucks. Twitter was a war zone of side-by-side screenshots Echo's cruel janitor cousin, next to my official hospital portrait in a white coat that read, Lyric York, MD Fax Chief of Neurosurgery. My inbox overflowed with requests from Good Morning America, The View, NBC Nightly News, and half a dozen podcasts. The hospital had already issued a short statement confirming I performed the surgery and was recovering after an exhausting night. Then the family texts started flooding in. Mom at 6:08 a.m. Lyric, call us immediately. We are so sorry, Dad. At 6:10. Pick up the phone, young lady Mercer at 6:13. Sis, this is insane. Answer me. Echo at 6:16. I'm deleting everything I didn't know. Please, I'm getting death threats. Nova at 6:19. We are literally so proud of you. Call us Aunt Agnes, Uncle Wilbur Drake cousins. I hadn't spoken to in years. 16 messages in 7 minutes. By 6:30, the family group chat I'd been muted in since forever, lit up with apologies, crying emojis, and frantic voice notes. I ignored them all. Showered, checked on the vice president. He was awake talking, asking for coffee, then drove home to my downtown Phoenix penthouse to finally sleep. At exactly 11, the doorbell started going off, like someone was holding the button down. Through the peephole, I saw all 16 of them crammed in the hallway. Mom clutching tissues, Dad pacing red-faced Mercer, running both hands through his hair, Nova hiding behind massive sunglasses, Echo ghost white, and glued to her phone, Tate standing quietly at the back, looking like he hadn't slept either. Building security had already called twice asking if I wanted them removed. I told them to stand by. Mom leaned on the bell again. Mercer pounded. Lyric, open up. We know you're in there. I watched on the hallway camera. Echo kept refreshing TikTok, tears streaming as the hate poured in. Nova whispered something about defamation lawyers. Dad checked his watch every 5 seconds like time could fix this. Mercer tried the handle. Locked. Lyric, come on, he shouted through the door, voice breaking exactly like it had in the driveway. We're your family. We have to talk. This is getting out of control. I stood there in leggings and an old Johns Hopkins hoodie, fresh coffee in hand, watching the same people who spent 10 years laughing at me now beg to be let in because the entire world had finally seen who I really am. The doorbell kept ringing nonstop at 11 in the morning. I let it ring another full minute. Then I pressed the intercom. 30 seconds. After that, security removes you. I opened the door on the dot. They spilled inside like a wave that had nowhere else to go. Mom already crying into crumpled tissues, Dad trying to look in charge. Mercer pale and sweating through his designer shirt. Nova clutching her purse like it could protect her Echo, hiding behind her phone with shaking hands. Tate last eyes on the floor, hands in his pockets. I didn't speak. I walked straight to the marble kitchen island, picked up the thick black folder I'd printed at 4 in the morning, and dropped it on the counter with a thud that echoed through the penthouse. 16 pairs of eyes snapped to it. I flipped it open. First page, 2024 W-2 gross income, $1.42 million. Next 12 pages, monthly direct deposit stubs, everyone well into 6 figures. Then the deed, downtown Phoenix penthouse, $4.1 million paid cash, no mortgage. Drone shots of the 4,200 square foot private terrace they were now standing under. Vehicle titles for the Tesla Plaid and the 911 Turbo S in my 2 reserve spots, 38 floors below. Silence thick enough to choke on. I looked straight at Mercer. 10 years, I said, voice flat and cold. 10 years of you standing on stages screaming that I scrub toilets for a living. 10 years of you turning it into the family joke so you could feel taller. 10 years of Mom and Dad sighing about wasted tuition while they laughed right along with you. 10 years of Echo filming it for Clout, Nova flashing her ring in my face, every single one of you treating me like the family failure. Mom tried first. Lyric baby one raised finger. She stopped. I stayed on Mercer. Every holiday, every birthday, every time you needed an ego boost, you dragged out the janitor's story. And I let you. Because I thought blood meant I had to take it. Mercer swallowed hard, tried a weak smile. We were just joking, sis. You know that. Joking? I repeated. I never laughed once. I turned to Mom and Dad. You told your country club friends I worked somewhere in healthcare. You let them think I pushed the mop bucket. You were ashamed of me until the entire world told you not to be. Dad puffed up, face turning purple. We're proud of you, Lyric. We always don't. My voice cut clean. You do not get to rewrite 10 years in one morning. I looked at Echo. She was shaking so hard her phone rattled. Your video just hit 103 million views. Enjoy the death threats. Nova stepped forward, fake sweet. We can fix this as a family. Delete everything, joint statement, no one word. Final. I lifted my phone, opened the building security app, and hit the red button. 2 uniformed guards appeared in the doorway in 7 seconds flat. Everyone out except Tate. Mom collapsed into hysterics. Lyric, please. We're your parents. You stopped acting like parents the first time you laughed while he called me a toilet cleaner in front of 70 people. Dad started shouting about respect. Mercer reached for my arm. Sis, we're sorry we didn't know. That's the entire problem, I said. You never cared enough to ask. The guards moved in. Mom wailed against one of them. Dad's face went from red to white. Mercer kept repeating wait as they guided him backward. Nova muttered about lawyers. Echo was crying so hard she could barely walk. Tate stayed when the door finally shut. He looked up, eyes red. I always knew you were the strongest one here. I pulled him into the first real hug we'd had in years, and you're the only one who ever saw it. That same afternoon, I blocked every number, every social account, every email. Dropped the family middle name from everything except government IDs. Deleted the group chat forever. Changed my emergency contact to Tate and Tate only. Blood had chained me to them for 34 years. I cut the chain clean. 3 months later was when they finally started paying the real price. It didn't happen overnight, it was gradual, like a leak turning into a flood. The first blow landed on Mercer. His prized $120 million resort development deal, the one he'd paraded around that night, collapsed in a single email chain. The lead investors had seen the viral footage. They ran the family name through Google. Read the articles, scrolled the comments. This kind of publicity is toxic, they wrote. We can't risk our brand with a partner whose family treats their own, like that. Your sister, the chief neurosurgeon? No, we're out. Mercer lost the contract. Then the subcontractors pulled back. His phone stopped ringing with offers. Partners distanced themselves. By month 4, he was laying off half his staff, selling his vacation condo to make payroll, and quietly listing his luxury SUV online to cover the mortgage on the house he'd once called his empire. Mom and Dad got hit next. The Scottsdale Country Club they'd belonged to for 29 years sent a certified letter. After recent events, we've received complaints from members. The board has voted to terminate your membership effective immediately. The golf group followed, then the Rotary Club Dad chaired. Mom's charity board suggested she resign. Old friends stopped returning calls. Invites to dinners and galas dried up. Their social calendar went from packed to empty, just echoes in a house that felt too big now. Echo's social media empire crumbled. TikTok suspended her account after the harassment reports piled up. Sponsors dropped her overnight. Drake's Tesla promotion got quietly canceled. His boss cited distractions from family matters. Aunt Agnes and Uncle Wilbur heard whispers at their bridge club. People stopped asking them to events. No one contacted me. I'd made sure of that. Tate was the only survivor. He showed up at my door 3 weeks after the confrontation with a duffel bag and a quiet, I can't stay there anymore. 19 years old and already done with the lies. I gave him the guest suite. He transferred to a local university, picked up shifts at a bookstore, and we started building something honest, no secrets, no mockery. The story faded from the news, but the fallout didn't. Mercer's firm filed Chapter 11 in month 5. Mom started therapy for depression. Dad sold his boat to pay the bills. The Scottsdale house hit the market priced to sell fast in a town that now whispered behind their backs. I followed it all from a distance, no pity left. They'd built their lives on belittling mine. Now the foundation was cracking. And me? 8 months after that night, I sold the Phoenix penthouse the week the listing went live. Cash offer 20% over asking closed in 9 days. The new owners never knew who I was. I made sure of that. 2 weeks later, Tate and I were on the 5 freeway south, windows down, moving into a 6-bedroom oceanfront house in La Jolla. I'd bought sight unseen for $8.2 million. Floor-to-ceiling glass, direct beach access, the kind of quiet money can't fake. I changed every phone number, every email, every social handle. The old accounts vanished overnight. New passport, new driver's license, new everything. Lyric York became just a name on medical journals and the occasional conference flyer. Tate enrolled at UC San Diego, picked marine biology because he finally could, and turned the downstairs wing into his own space. We eat dinner on the deck most nights, watch the sun drop into the Pacific, talk about everything except Scottsdale. My practice moved too. I took the chief of neurosurgery position at UCSD Medical Center, half the call, double the research budget, and nobody who ever called me a janitor. The vice president still sends a handwritten Christmas card every year. I'm 35 now. Bank accounts fatter than they've ever been. Schedule lighter. Sleep deeper. I surf at dawn when the swell is right. Read whatever I want, travel when I feel like it. No explanations owed. Sometimes strangers recognize me from the old viral clip. I just smile, say it was a long time ago, and keep walking. The truth is simple. Biological family can be the most toxic strangers you'll ever meet. They know exactly where to cut, because they put the scars there in the first place. Real family is the one you choose, the people who see you clearly and still decide you're worth standing beside. Tate is my family now. My team at the hospital is my family. The friends who never needed a scandal to respect me are my family. The rest, they taught me the most expensive lesson of my life. Silence isn't loyalty, and blood isn't a free pass to bleed someone dry. So choose carefully who you call home. Choose the ones who lift you higher, not the ones who enjoy watching you crawl. That's the only family that matters. Thanks for watching.